let me introduce you to a case right here playing out of British Columbia, Canada. The story of Theo Lim, a 16-month-old with complex medical conditions like Vacterl, Vacterl, and a rare gene anomaly. This poor kid is suffering from this condition, and it's truly heartbreaking. His parents, who successfully raised 3 other healthy kids, simply wanted to try weaning him off the ventilator after seeing with their own eyes that he could breathe on his own. A pediatrician even noted he was smiling and engaged while off the ventilator. Sounds like progress, but nope. Not according to the demonic attending staff at the children's hospital, who flipped the story within 24 hours and claimed baby Theo was suddenly in moderate to severe respiratory distress. Then in comes the social worker, not to help the family, not to mediate, but to take over medical decisions without consent. The parents weren't allowed to post videos of their own baby showing signs of improvement. The mother was banned from visitation entirely because she brought in a doctor. Yes, an actual medical professional as an unauthorized visitor, in quotes. And guess what? That visitor happened to be Dr. Daniel Nagase. I'm sure a lot of you heard of him. He was very vocal against the COVID lockdowns and the vaccines. He gave a detailed explanation to the hospital about why the parents' requests were medically sound, which of course didn't matter at all. Not to the demons in charge over here. The staff pediatrician, whose name is redacted by the way, made it very clear. We don't care about parental rights. We don't care if the baby's improving. We're doing it our way. They even pushed for a tracheostomy, a permanent tube installed in the neck without ever giving baby T, aka Theo Lim, a full trial off the ventilator. And who approved that life-altering surgery? Not the parents, the social worker, the non-medical bureaucrat who replaced the family's consent with institutional authority. This is the direction we're headed. If people don't wake up and see what's happening, your kids are going to be taken away from you by the state. From Texas to BC, it's the same playbook. They want to trigger outrage, paint the parents as reckless, and slip in government control as the sane solution. If they succeed in making the public believe that the refusal to vaccinate or the request for second medical opinions is a crime, then we're already halfway into medical fascism. They don't want to co-parent your child, they want to own them. And if you dare to ask questions, they'll treat you like a criminal, or worse, an unauthorized visitor. And just when you thought it couldn't get any darker than a state taking medical control of your child, get this, the same family was celebrating their 10-year-old girl's birthday when it turned into a police state nightmare. On April 4th, 2025, Davis and Rena, the parents of Theo, the same Theo taken from their care under questionable, if not criminal pretenses, were peacefully standing on a sidewalk in Vancouver, Canada, with their children, holding a birthday vigil outside of the hospital in hopes of having Theo return to them. Their eldest daughter didn't ask for toys on her birthday. She didn't ask for a cake. Her birthday wish was for her little brother to come home. But what did she get instead? A SWAT-style takedown of her father. 8 cops and 4 police vehicles swarmed the sidewalk like they were busting a terrorist cell. I've seen violent junkies on East Hastings treated better than this. They violently arrested Davis, Theo's father, right in front of his daughters. One of the same daughters, mind you, who had already been assaulted by Vancouver PD during a previous raid. And yes, there's footage of that too. And you can watch here Officer James, in quotes, in the video kicking Davis while he's on the ground. He's caught violently yanking his cuffed wrist back and forth like he's torturing a prisoner of war, all while pretending to do nothing, in quotes. And then you can hear Davis screaming from the pain, his handcuffs being twisted, damn near breaking his wrists. This is pure evil. I've never seen a more peaceful protest in my life, actually. Davis was with his daughters, playing a pink ukulele and singing Bible songs. You can't make this up, all because the state stole his child and told the parents they could never see their son again. Then the SWAT team decided to smash his face against the ground like he was caught robbing a bank. Welcome to Canada, folks. This wasn't law enforcement, this was retribution. This was retaliation for dissenters, okay? And the sergeant on the scene grabbed the 10-year-old birthday girl, the one they already traumatized, like she was a criminal too. And why were they even there? Because the family was peacefully asking for their son back. Really let this one sink in, okay? Because they called 911 to report that frozen breast milk, a medically necessary food for their child, wasn't being provided in state custody. There's no law, no crime, no legitimate reason for what went down. What there might be, however, is something much worse. An unspoken alliance between corrupt bureaucracies alongside social work departments, hospitals, and the police that protect one another like the mafia. This is the deep state we're talking about right here, where loyalty to the system outweighs the law itself, outweighs compassion, outweighs reason. We've seen suggestions that certain orders and cult-like networks exist within Vancouver's institutional structures, that those at the top may be shielding each other for favors, for status, or for silence. Because who in their right mind would think it's okay to bring 8 cops to beat down a father and grab his daughter at her birthday vigil right after the world just watched them do the same 3 weeks prior in a coffee shop raid? No public explanation, no accountability, just an added restriction slapped on Davis after the fact, saying he can't be within 1 block of a social work office. Nothing prior, just punishment after punishment for daring to question the authority of the machine. And this wasn't even the first time social workers blocked the parents from seeing their child. Rena, Theo's mother, was banned from all visitation because she let a doctor, an actual emergency physician, visit her son in the hospital and advocate on their behalf. And why wouldn't she? The medical team ignored evidence, lied in their notes, redacted critical names, denied video access of baby T's breathing trial, and pushed unnecessary invasive procedures. They weren't treating the child, they were silencing the parents. They didn't de-escalate, they escalated the situation. They didn't protect, they attacked. And now the police are doing their dirty work on the streets of Vancouver, brutalizing fathers, assaulting kids, and treating grieving families like dissidents. This isn't healthcare, this is a hostage situation. The deep state has stolen someone's child because that person was labeled an anti-vax extremist. And if you still think this is about protecting kids and not about asserting total state dominance over families, wait until you hear what they did to Davis Lim next. After months of conflict with BC Children's Hospital and the Ministry of Child and Family Development, Davis became the subject of a full-blown Amber Alert, not for kidnapping, not for endangering anyone, but for taking his own medically vulnerable son from a supervised visitation outside a care facility after the visit was canceled with no warning. Davis had his daughters with him. The ministry staff knew it, and still after sitting in a room waiting to see Theo, the visit was revoked on the spot. So what did Davis do? He did what any desperate, heartbroken father would do after being messed with for over a year by a cold, heartless kidnapping system. He picked up his son and left. And for that, he became a fugitive in his own country. Vancouver police launched an Amber Alert, claiming Theo was without a critical ventilator component, but conveniently left out the part where Davis brought Theo to a park, kept him safe, and even took the kids to a cafe for waffles and juice while trying to stay calm and figure out what the hell was going on. He even took the ventilator with him. Then, without warning, SWAT stormed the cafe, guns out, no words, no de-escalation, just brute force. Davis was arrested and thrown into a cell like a criminal, charged with child abduction of his own child and assault. I can't think of a better example of medical tyranny here than a parent being charged with child abduction for trying to protect their own son from a hospital that was basically holding him hostage. And that assault charge was just another tool they used to criminalize anyone who refuses to submit. Crazy thing is, his older daughters were returned the next day to the friend's home where they were staying with their mother, proving there was no real concern for safety. They just wanted to punish the family. Davis now faces court in December, while Theo remains in government custody. This isn't an isolated misunderstanding. It's the inevitable outcome of a system where disagreeing with a doctor is now considered a threat to your child's life. From the beginning, Davis and his wife, Rena, who are practicing Seventh-day Adventists, expressed concerns about invasive treatment, pushed back against unnecessary drugs and vaccines, and sought alternative options that aligned with their religious and medical beliefs. They weren't neglecting their son, they were trying to protect him from the one-size-fits-all protocols that treat unique cases like Theo's with textbook arrogance. And for that, they were stripped of their rights, misled by legal tricks because they made Davis unknowingly sign some kind of crazy document, and he was eventually deemed unfit without due process. Even worse, the tracheostomy procedure Davis fought to delay was pushed through before they even had a chance to appeal, using a ministry custody order that took parental consent off the table entirely. And how did it all start? With a video. A simple 30-minute video Davis filmed showing Theo, his son, smiling, breathing without his mask, engaging like any other child would. Doctors watched it and still claimed Theo was struggling, in quotes, and called in the ministry. Doctors were pissed that the father recorded his own son doing well without a ventilator. I mean, just goes to show the God complex of these doctors here. If you prove them wrong, they will go scorched earth on you. No emergency, no crisis, just the deep state punishing parents for daring to disobey. Davis has been fighting back ever since, launching fundraisers, petitions, trying to stay close to Vancouver just to keep some thread of connection to his son. I mean, his family is from Salmon Arm, so it's about 500 kilometers from Vancouver. So he has to sleep in a camper in the parking lot of the medical facility where they hold his son hostage. But this isn't just about one family anymore. It's about the weaponization of healthcare, the criminalization of parental intuition, and the transformation of every hospital into a courtroom where you don't get to speak. According to the ministry, they only remove kids when there's immediate danger and no other options. So apparently filming your child breathing without a machine is now immediate danger. The truth is, they want compliant families, ones that never question, never challenge, and definitely never pull out a phone to record the truth. Davis and Rena weren't dangerous. They were inconvenient. And in this new system, that's enough to get your kid taken away, your name smeared, and your life torn apart. I was wondering what the Amber Alert was all about when I got it on my phone here in BC. You would think it was some violent kidnapping of a child just walking down the street, you know. A white van pulls up and snatches a kid off the street. That's what you think is going on when you get an Amber Alert. Then you look into the story and you're like, oh my God. And the Lim family's nightmare wasn't just some tragic one-off story. It's part of a much bigger, more grotesque picture. It's about government overreach, medical tyranny, the erasing of the line between freedom and force. While police were out strong-arming dads and dragging children off sidewalks, British Columbia was just laying the foundation for full-blown medical authoritarianism. Start with Bill 15 here. So while everyone's distracted with the chaos, this is what we get in BC. Bill 15, the Emergency and Disaster Management Act, introduced in October 2023, passed a month later with barely a whisper. It hands the province sweeping, unchecked power the moment they label something a disaster. So climate fear or a virus, or even better, your neighbor sneezes too loudly. The state gets to override your rights, lock you down, and treat you like a threat to society. And this wasn't a one-off. More authoritarian add-ons are already in development through 2026. Then there's Bill 19, the Health Professions and Occupations Act, signed into law in 2022. It strips every healthcare professional of autonomy, folding them all under a centralized authority that answers to no one but itself. Doctors, nurses, even naturopaths are now expected to parrot state directives or risk losing their license. No dissent, no second opinion. Ask the wrong question and you're out. Next came the assault on legal independence. Bill 21, the Legal Professions Act, was introduced in April 2024 and then pushed through by May. No serious debate, no pushback. It consolidates notaries, paralegals, and lawyers under one government-controlled body. The Law Society of BC is suing, but that's damage control after the fire is already raging. The goal is obvious here: shut down resistance in every professional field that could pose a threat to the regime. This isn't about public safety, it's about total control. Doctors are being silenced. Lawyers are being leashed. Families are being punished. The Constitution has been torched. The Charter of Rights is now optional. And parental rights have been turned into punchlines for bureaucrats in suits. Even lawyers who once laughed at conspiracy theorists are finally waking up, because this isn't normal policy. It's a soft coup, a full-scale bureaucratic takeover wrapped in the language of safety and compassion. Families like Lim's aren't just some outliers here. They're test cases. Their suffering is being used to normalize state-controlled parenting. Children are no longer seen as individuals to protect, but as government property to modify, medicate, and seize when convenient. Theo's story is just the beginning. Anyone who dares challenge the system is next. First, it's a tracheostomy for a sick child against their father's will. Then it's forced custody removal for refusing vaccines. The pattern is already being set here. Parental rights are being buried beneath health etiquettes. Kids are being funneled into a system where over 75 injections are mandatory, and dissenting parents are locked out of medical decisions altogether. This is psychological warfare, redefining obedience as virtue and state violence as compassion. And unless people push back now, what happened to Theo becomes the blueprint for every so-called non-compliant family. This isn't just about one case or one province or just one disease. It's a worldwide warning. When you see headlines screaming, "measles outbreak caused by the unvaccinated," understand what you're really being shown. A script designed to turn society against anyone who resists, to make people beg the government to seize children from their homes. If they succeed, your neighbors won't just accept it, they'll cheer as your child is ripped from your arms and handed over to the state, all in the name of public health. While the Lims are being brutalized in broad daylight by masked up cops, the real cleanup crew is behind the scenes, using the media they own to bury the truth. It's insane how few people even know about this case that live here in British Columbia, and that's by design.